My most memorable home visit was during Hurricane Ike, and Hurricane Ike created a lot of destruction on the Texas Gulf Coast, and there was one community called Oak Island that was a community of Vietnamese refugees, and the refugees had evacuated the day before to a local parish church, and after that they went back to their homes, but their homes were all gone. And a group of Vincentians and I went down to Oak Island, and instead of doing a home visit, we took tents to the Vietnamese refugees. So we took the homes to them. We also took blankets and bug spray, and I will never forget the look on their faces when we came with those tents, because it meant a lot to them to be able to stay on the space where their homes had been. And that was an intense moment for me, and I'll never forget it.
I like to go with the Vincentians to make these visits, and so we went to this house to visit one person who was in need, and it was a grandmother, and she was raising her grandchildren. And what impressed me was the number of children also showed up. There was 2 twins, about 16, 17 years of age. One was pregnant, and she was taking care of that girl and that future baby to come. And then there were 4 other little grandchildren in the room, and she says that the food that you're bringing me to help on my rent is God sent. And we prayed over it, and I asked her, I said, can I pray before I leave? And she said, of course. So I prayed over the family, and it was so very touching that here was a simple visit, ended up being helping this lady, giving her money for her, pay her rent, and leaving her food, and doing the blessing of these children. I recommend that every priest join the St. Vincent de Paul Society. I've been a priest for 52 years, but St. Vincent de Paul hits the core of being charitable, being kind. And so, fathers who see this video, think about joining the local St. Vincent de Paul Society, and I promise you, you'll be blessed twice.
I would have to say the most memorable one was when my wife and I lived in Maryland and belonged to St. John Neumann's Catholic Church Conference, and we responded to a woman who was facing foreclosure with countrywide mortgage. And she was a specific dollar amount short of what she needed to avoid foreclosure. And I knew we were down in our treasury for that particular period of time. As it turned out, we had exactly to the penny what she needed to avoid foreclosure. And when we told her that, she simply broke down in tears. So that to me would have to be my most memorable home visit.
When I was in Phoenix, Arizona, I think it was around 2001 or 2, they had their national meeting. And myself and another Vincentian at lunchtime went out to the little mall for lunch. And we encountered a homeless man there, and we walked up to him, and like good Vincentians, we put a couple of dollars on his plate. But what we did, we stopped and talked to him for about 10 or 15 minutes. His thing was that no one ever stops to talk to anybody. All they do is put the money in the little basket or whatever, and it gets prejudged, and that's it. But we actually stopped and talked to him, and how did he get in this position, so forth, and like that. And that was in 2001 or 2, like I said. But, and you know, we got so much out of that. We got more out of that than he did. But my point is that, you know, we need to take the time to talk to our clients, no matter where they are or where they're from, and get to know them, because they need that interaction.
A few months ago, we had the opportunity to gather about 100 or so people at City Hall in Daytona Beach to advocate for a ban the box policy. And there was a guy who has had a long time drug addiction, has been clean for about 5 years now, and he's been in prison, and he had the opportunity to go in front of the city council in Daytona Beach and talk about the importance of ban the box and what that means to someone like himself. And he did that, and he had so many people come up to him after to talk about his story. A lot of media wanted to hear his story, and the most memorable moment, most touching moment out of that for me was when he came to me after the event and said, with the most sincere look on his face, he said, "Mykal, this work is keeping me sober." And I was speechless. I couldn't say anything. And to just know that someone with a long drug addiction feels like the work that I'm coordinating is keeping them sober was very touching for me, and that is one of the most memorable moments so far I have being a Vincentian and working to reduce barriers to reentry.
This is a story about an encounter of not just myself, but our entire furniture ministry. And it starts with the founder of not only our conference, but the person that started our furniture ministry. And his name is Ned, and he noticed that his pickup truck that he would bring to work would not be in the same space that he parked it in when he would go at the end of work. And what he had not realized is he had dropped a spare set of keys that had been picked up by two young underage boys who were taking his truck during the day for a joyride, until one day he looked out his window and he saw his truck driving away and he wasn't in it. So he called the police. The police picked up the boys, and lo and behold, it was a family that he had actually delivered furniture to a few weeks earlier. So he went to court. He asked, the boys were sentenced to community service. He asked if they could come and volunteer for St. Vincent de Paul as part of their community service, and sure enough, the judge let him. That was several years ago, and now, after not only coming every Saturday to do their community service, their older brother came. All three boys have now graduated from high school and they have jobs, and now their younger sisters are volunteering every Saturday morning for our furniture ministry. So sometimes God comes in and brings about systemic change, even for those who don't realize they're part of it.
Yeah, my most memorable home visit, which is it's a quasi-home visit, was in October of last year. I was asked to come to the thrift store, a conference call, very secretive. And when I got to the room where the conference call was taking place, there was the managing director, one other person, and myself. And on the phone was the city of Dallas. The mayor's office was calling us to help move furniture, a house in a box essentially, to the family from the Ebola victim that passed away. And so they were trying to organize, how do we set up a home that the press doesn't know about, where this family can reside during this period of time. So it's very secretive, and I didn't know where we were going or what was going on, but we engaged the thrift store personnel, told them that we were trying to help a family who was burned out of a home. So they assembled mattresses, furniture, dishes, all the necessities for house in a box. Myself and the managing director got in the truck and we left. And on the way there, I texted my wife just to say, hey, I'm doing this visit, need some prayers, I'm not sure what we're gonna see. So we get to the address finally, and there's a person waiting out front to let us in. And we go into the home, and there in the home is the mayor of Dallas and his staff. I had never met him before. I was in the job all of 3 months, and got to meet him, and we started the process of unloading the furniture. So the mayor and I went to the back of the truck and started unloading mattresses and furniture, and got the house set up. And as soon as we were done, the family wasn't there yet, and they were going to be coming there. So as soon as we finished unloading the truck, we got right back in the truck and left so as to not draw attention to the situation. And as we were leaving, I just thought to myself, I knew I was going to run into strange things or unique things in the society, but never expected to be involved with the Ebola crisis. I'm glad I was a part of helping out the family, and everything turned out well in the end for the community.
3 weeks later, we get another call from another mom and just wanted a mattress, and do we have to do a home visit? And we said yes. For any furniture like that, we always do a home visit to sit down, hear your story, and we want to welcome you to our community, because she had told us they were brand new to the community and her husband had just gotten a job, same kind of a story. But when she was on the phone, I could hear this baby crying, and the baby was 3 weeks old. And just beautiful. And the mom says, I just gotta feed her and she'll be fine. And I said, no, I can't wait to see the new baby. And so when we walked in, I had one of my student interns with me for our second partner, and we walked in and we both could smell gas. And then I noticed that all the kids were home from school. And I said, that's gas. And then all of a sudden panic hit. And I said, where's that new baby? And the mother just, her face dropped. She looked around and she said, oh my God, he's in with the furnace, in the furnace room. And that's where the gas, we opened up the door and the leak was just horrendous. The baby was purple. We called 911. The mom was working on the baby. I took the mom and the baby. They said, just take her to the hospital. I was only about 4 blocks away. And my other partner took the little kids and took all them in her car and took them down to Salvation Army. They were gonna get them an overnight. And I took the mom and the baby, and I'm just saying the rosary up and down. And the mom is talking because 911 just kept the mom on the phone, and the mom's doing the mouth-to-mouth, and she's, doing the chest compressions. And the little 3-year-old is just watching all this. So then the little 3-year-old I could see was pushing also on the baby, and the baby was still purple. We pulled up into the ER, and they were all out there. They were waiting because she would tell them, we just made this corner, we're just about there. They were all waiting. And so they just rushed the baby in, and the mom just sat there. And I said, come on, we need to park the car, and then we'll go right away with it. Because they told the mom she couldn't come right away. And so then we hurried, parked, and we went back in, and we were sitting there, and then they had us to come into the second waiting room, which would be closer to the baby. And all of a sudden we heard that, wah! And she's crying, I'm crying. The little 3-year-old is on her mom's lap and wiping the tears. And then they came out, and the baby was alive and well. And then they asked, because they needed to know how much gas she had taken in. And the doctor looked at the little 3-year-old and said, I'm gonna have to put a needle in your baby sister's ankle unless you want to volunteer an arm. And the little girl said, I don't like shots, but I don't want my baby sister to have a needle. And so they drew the blood from her. They got the gas, how much gas they'd all taken in. It was that little girl offering her arm, and because we had our St. Vincent de Paul tags on, we were allowed to go back there with the mom. If you had just given a voucher for a mattress and hadn't done the home visit, you wouldn't have saved that baby's life. The baby was purple. There's no way. But a home visit saved it. So it was really kind of cute because 2 months later, we get this invitation to a wedding. And the dad and the mom were getting married. And we were invited as the angels of their baby, saving the baby's life. So memorable, yeah. And so we have a saying now, it's more than just the mattress. It's more than the mattress.